From our Center of the Arts studios, this is your Ashland University Eagle News Update. I'm Logan Gay.
And I'm Lisa Bridges. Thanks for joining us.
On January 31st, Ashland University President Fred Finks announced his retirement. Finks has been president since 2006 and plans to retire in May 2015. In October, Finks will transition from his position as president into the role of chancellor. Finks will then spend most of his time and energy with major donors, and interim president will assume the day-to-day operations of the university in October. The Board of Trustees has not said when a new president will be hired. AUTV-20's Zach Lemon sat down with Finks to discuss his retirement in an upcoming transition.
Thanks, guys. I'm here today with Dr. Fred Finks, president of Ashland University. Fred, nice to see you.
Thanks, nice to be here.
So you've been here for many years, started as the seminary president in 1982. You were here as a student, and then since you've been president since 2006. How has Ashland changed over those, all those years that you've been here?
Well, physically it's changed a lot. Fundamentally, I'm not sure it's changed a great deal because when I was a student here, accidental individual was very much alive. And I think it's very much alive on our campus today. It started out as a slogan in the 60s and really became a philosophy of life. And so I see that piece definitely continuing through the whole stream of things. But definitely the campus has changed dramatically, physically, of course, through those times.
So as far as the timing of the change, you announced your retirement over the weekend. Mm-hmm. You're going to be stepping down as president into the role of chancellor in October 2014. Mm-hmm. So what does that move to chancellor really entail?
Well, as you may know, we're in the early phases of talking about a new campaign, and so the president's role today has a lot of involvement in fundraising. I probably spend about 40% of my time right now in fundraising. So getting prepared for this and kind of laying that groundwork, it seemed to me a good time to step down from the daily activity. So I won't be running the daily campus at that time. Basically be transitioning in October and working literally probably for the next 3 years, but full-time through October of May 15th, and then part-time for the next 2 years, just working with major donors and fundraising.
Can you talk a little bit about that campaign? I know you said it's in the early stages. But
no, because it actually has not been shaped up. I mean, we're at this point we've completed a feasibility study, which we targeted 50 individuals and began asking them about components of the campaign through our strategic plan and what that would look like, and then discussing interest in that. And from that, then we will now begin working. In fact, we're working right now on developing a full case statement, and then we'll be in a silent phase for the next 2.5 years. That's why I'm going to be concentrating my time on fundraising over the next 2.5 years to try to lay a solid foundation for that before we do any public announcement.
So as far as your time here, again, you spent, seems like you're a big part of your life here. What to you was really that crowning achievement, that one thing that you can look back on and say, this was something I was really proud to have done?
That may be a hard question. I think when I accepted the job, in fact, I was asked in 2006 why I wanted to be president. And I said at that time, Ashland University had given so much to me as a student here and had really helped shape me. I often say I came here with a county view. I grew up in Marin, Virginia, a very small town in Virginia. I grew up in the 60s. Segregation was part of the whole culture of the country at that time. And so I grew up in a very small, narrow world. And coming to Ashland, really the world opened up. And I learned so much and really shaped me and became the person I am today. So one of the things I said as a president, I wanted to be able to give back to an institution that's given so much to me. The second thing I said is I want to be able to make a difference. I want to leave something behind that is better than what I found it. And so I think those two fundamental pieces I think are at play in what I've attempted to do and how I've attempted to lead. And I think that's happened. I would say if I were to name one or two top things, I'd say acquiring the College of Nursing definitely was a major accomplishment for us as an institution because it puts us right at the forefront of healthcare, which is really where our country is moving right now. And to be able to bring that in, be able to raise the money for that building and be able to build a state-of-the-art facility would definitely be something I think that positions the university moving forward. And the second thing I'd say would be fundraising. They just told me, I had no idea what we raised, but since I became president, we raised over $77 million since I've been president, and I have been able to put my hand on about 35 million personally that I've been involved with. So I'd say those are two things that I think have answered the reason why I came here is to give back and to make a difference.
So in the press release, you had mentioned wanting to leave Ashland better than you'd found it, kind of the same thing you just said. Can you talk about how, in your view, Ashland is better today than it was when you became president?
Well, one thing is we cleared up a lot of debt. The university had incurred a lot of debt, and we've addressed a lot of issues in debt. I would say that the academic program has continued to grow. I can't personally take credit for that, but I can take credit for it as being a president and what took place here. I think our commitment to academic excellence and the academic freedom piece that's in our core values has helped shape the leadership of the provost, who's led that initiative with faculty and deans to build a very strong academic program here. So I think we're better in that area. Facilities definitely are better. I mean, since I've been here again, the greenhouse was one piece we did. The academic corridor was another piece. The College of Nursing facility, which is again state of the art, and then the athletic complex. Again, I think really the whole point of that was to bring spirit to campus and put emphasis on our athletic program, and I think we've accomplished that.
So you mentioned both the athletic complex and the debt reduction. Obviously, you inherited some debt as president and were able to convert that from short-term debt into a more manageable long-term debt. But even today, there's still some debt problems facing the university. How do you think the university going forward can help sort of defray that issue going forward?
Well, again, part of the debt, and I would say if the Building on Strength campaign that was prior to my becoming president set a pretty high standard for building. They built the College of Business, the College of Education, the addition of the Science Building, and the rec services. They spent over $55 million for that and raised very little dollars to support that. So that debt's still on our books, and that debt was laid out as a long-term debt. That won't be paid off to 2024. It's in bonds. Actually can't be paid off. So that we're stuck with about, today I think we're stuck in the neighborhood of something like $40 million of that debt that's being paid out. So that's something we inherited. The short-term debt that I also inherited was $19 million. We eliminated that to zero, and then over the last couple of years have put some of that into what we call midterm debt. And that debt would be paid off in about 4 years. That piece will be paid off. The College of Nursing is fully supported by pledges. So that debt that we only owe $6 million on the College of Nursing right now, and so that we have pledges supporting that. And the athletic complex was a $21 million building. We raised $23 million of that. However, the structure of that means that we will carry about $13 million of debt. Actually, we'll carry about 10. We should pay another $3 million off of that in the next year or so. So I think we're managing that. I think, and the debt's is budgeted. So I think we have that manageable right now.
Mentioning the budget, already going forward for next year, the budget's looking at, I believe, a $6.9 million deficit for the next academic year. How's the university looking to handle that deficit?
Well, I'd say at this point that's not a firm number. We're looking at a number of factors there, and this is really preliminary because the first time we really get a look at the budget is in February. We haven't even run a budget. We've run some budget projections that do show us needing to cut multiple millions of dollars, and maybe in that neighborhood. We've had committees that have been working on this since the fall. We actually had a committee working on it to balance the budget for this year, which was done in December. We're balanced through the end of the year. And then looking at next year's budget, projecting what some of those costs could be, some of the carryover and some of the declining. This year, for example, we saw the first time that all of our graduate programs and undergraduate programs did not meet projections. I think that's just, again, part of the economy, the declining economy, the impact of the economy. It's been now, 4 years of struggling economy. Colleges are facing those pieces. So I think those are all coming into play, but we've had a committee, and I think a very collaborative committee that's made up of almost 25 people, that made up of senior members of the administration, senior members of the faculty senate, faculty budget committee, faculty welfare, committees, and so we've all been working together, and it's tough. I mean, it's really tough to make the hard choices. But again, what we're attempting to do is to make the decisions that don't affect students. And I don't know, and that's one thing I'd say, I'm not sure that students have seen any ill effect of any of the cuts we made over the last year, because we really try hard not to have that fall directly on the student.
You're right with the students. Students really haven't felt it directly, but indirectly, in order to balance the budget this year, payouts into faculty, pensions, retirements had to be affected. And obviously that kind of is going to have a negative impact on the morale of the university as a whole. Can you talk a little bit about that?
First thing I'd correct you.
Yeah.
I'd say that it's not faculty, it was the entire community, faculty, staff, administration, everyone took a cut. Again, this was a collaborative effort. I wasn't actually in the meeting where they decided to do that. I was gone that day having some surgery. When I came back, they told me that they were moving towards a 5 months non-payment of the retirement, which I was surprised that they had to do that. But what again I think they were looking at was, do you take a pay cut or do we deal with this one? It saved about $1.1 million to do it. People chose to do the retirement because it didn't take money out of their daily pockets or their weekly paycheck. Would I say it affects morale? Absolutely, it affects morale. Anytime you deal with people's salary or benefits, it's going to affect morale. But if you look at the morale in the country right now, I'd say we're right in the same boat. This week they announced United is going to cut how many jobs in Cleveland? 500 jobs in Cleveland. The week before that, Ford announced they're cutting a plant in Lorain and 500 people. You know, this isn't just Ashland University, and even if it weren't for the Ford or the United, you look at every other college in America, and all of them are going through the same struggle we are now, unless they have bazillions in endowments. But I know very well the majority of the presidents of Ohio, and every single one of them are facing the same situation we're facing. So low morale, yeah, it's tough. It's a tough time. Do I like that? No. I mean, my morale is not low. I said in fact, in cutting the retirement, which affected me as well, I said I've got 749 people mad at me. I'm not mad at myself, so I'm the 750th. I think the job of the president is to make tough decisions, to make hard decisions, not popular always, but make the decisions that are going to be the best for the institution. We had already cut last spring, as you know, $4.2 million out of the budget, so we had to come back and cut even more money this year. It comes down to, do you cut additional jobs, which we had cut jobs? Do you cut in areas that, in budget areas, which we'd cut them for 4 years in a row? It came down to saying we need to do something. We need to do something quickly, and I think that's where people got on board and said this is the area to do it. So we decided, hopefully, that this would be a one-time fix, and I can tell you right now, it's not on the top burner with me, not even on the second or third burner as options as we're now balancing some budget. It may come to that. I can't promise. I told them I couldn't promise it. But we're going to do everything we can to avoid that.
Especially going forward, Moody's, the credit agency, recently downgraded Ashland's rating to a CAA2, which is the third worst rating that they offer. But they had a negative outlook with that too. And it seems like, from your perspective, we're not in a great position now, but we're in a manageable position. How do you think that Ashland can really improve from this situation? With, again, debt deficits, things like that.
Well, let me ask you a question. Did you read Moody's report?
I did.
You did?
Yeah.
And did you see it's a negative outlook for higher education in America?
Yes.
Okay, so if it's a negative outlook for everyone in America in higher education, then that's not special. Ashland's not special in that area. The reality is, again, what Moody's rating us on is that money Building on Strength campaign, that $42 million of debt that we're carrying long term. That's what they're rating on. They're not rating us on any other thing, because they don't rate us on that. They rate us on bondholders. That's the only bonds we have. Unfortunately, we can't pay that off. The report also told you, if you read it carefully, that we paid, $15 million of debt down.
Right.
That was money that we had set aside. We think in the long run that was a smarter decision for us to make that payment and reduce debt long term, which reduced payments of interest, than having liquidity, sitting there earning 0.6%. So Moody can tell you all they want to say about, Moody looks at liquidity. How much do you have in case of? We have firm commitments from our banks right now that they're going to continue loaning us money. In fact, the day after Moody's report came out, Richland Bank in Mansfield came over in office and we signed a 14-month longer agreement. So you can say what you want to say. The people in our area know our situation. They know what higher education is going on. Huntington Bank has loaned us money for the athletic complex, so we have great relationships with banks. And I'm not as worried about Moody as a lot of people are, but that's where I'm at.
All right. Also, another thing that reading the Moody's report I realized I didn't really take account of was the tuition reset and different likelihood for an increase in enrollment. So can you talk a little bit about how the tuition reset, different the 4-year guarantee, 3-year programs, how some of those have really, in your view, helped out?
Yeah, I think you'll see the 4-year guarantee and the 3-year degrees. We have 20 degrees can be done in 3 years. The lowering of the graduation rate from 128 to 120 hours, which is typical in the United States. And now the tuition reset. Tuition reset, we're seeing immediate results. We're seeing about 14% ahead in application. We're seeing a great number of more campus visits. Those other 3 positions will take a little bit longer to set in and result. But I think as we see more and more students coming to college, they're bringing post-secondary education, they're bringing dual credit with them. And so that 3-year degree is going to become a lot more popular and a lot more possible. Plus the other thing we're looking at is how many more degrees can we go through, and we can do like we did with the accounting degree, a 4+1 model to get you both a bachelor's degree and then a master's degree at the same time. I know we're talking with religion right now in the seminary, since the seminary is moving one semester to try to look at something there where they could do a 3+2, where they could get their undergraduate degree in religion as well as their master's at the seminary. There may be other options that we can do as a university too that helps a student get more value while they're here.
All right. Last question, just involving the athletic director with the suspension of Bill Goldring and his return. Do you have any sort of statement about that? There had been a lot of rumors going on, a lot of students kind of unsure of what to believe, what actually happened with that. Do you have anything?
Sure, I can make a statement. That's a statement the university always makes, that we do not comment on personnel situations. We're glad Mr. Goldring's back. We're glad that the things were worked out, and we're moving forward.
All right. Thank you very much
Thank
for
you.
your time.
Thank you.
Back to you guys.
The Ashland University Center for Nonviolence is asking, can we prevent war? Our own Holly Carino spoke with one of the presenters at the symposium.
The symposium was held in the Reidenhauer Room in the Dow College of Business and Economics building. It featured 3 speakers and aimed to inform audience members on peaceful means of foreign policy. The Center for Nonviolence hosted a roundtable discussion in the afternoon in addition to the symposium in the evening.
I'm thrilled that students showed up this afternoon. I'm looking forward to tonight's conversation. I think with these issues, they can seem very distant when people talk about war, when they talk about violence. We often think of it as in far-off lands or far-off cities. And as a result, people become paralyzed and they're like, what can I do to stop war? And I think what's critical about the conversations today is we're looking at ways that here at Ashland University we can think about preventing war. We're encouraging more peaceful environments in Worcester, in Ashland, in Cleveland. Like how do we promote peace in our backyard, with our family, with our community, with our cities? Those same questions apply to Cleveland as they do to Iraq.
To learn more about the Ashland University Center for Nonviolence and their upcoming events, log on to www.ashland.edu/ACN.
The American Red Cross blood drive took place in Redwood on Wednesday, February 5th. Over 70 people donated within a 6-hour span. The next blood drive will be during Springfest on April 5th.
With February 14th right around the corner, we asked Ashland University students what their favorite Valentine's Day gift is.
The best Valentine's Day gift I ever had was a box of chocolate and flowers.
The best Valentine's Day gift I ever had was a dozen long stem roses.
The best Valentine's Day gift I ever got was this cup.
The best Valentine's Day gift that I ever got was my boyfriend made me a homemade red velvet cake. It's my favorite cake and it was in the shape of a heart, but that's the best gift I've had.
It was a really nice dinner for 2 at one of my favorite restaurants.
The best Valentine's Day gift I ever received was jewelry.
My favorite Valentine's present was probably 2 years ago. I got chocolate-covered strawberries, and they're just my favorite, and they're so delicious.
My favorite Valentine's Day gift was a bracelet that my mom got me.
For more Ashland University news and sports, don't forget to check out the Collegian at www.ashlandcollegian.com and the new WRDL 88.9 FM.
That's it for this Eagle News update. Thanks for joining us. I'm Lisa Bridges.
And I'm Logan Gay. Thank you. Have a great day.